Well, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. Did I just say pleasant? A very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, I have many things to talk about. Lots of things written down in the notes. You may notice that I am sitting in a kind of different place. I'm actually in the Stuff and Things apartment, and there is a large terrarium here, a glass enclosure in which there are some beasts. Beasts. We'll be getting to that in a little bit, but we will also be talking about some upcoming videos. We have many things in that category, many things to talk about there. We will of course talk about the Seahawks and a little bit about these creatures here. We'll talk about a question that I got from Bishop's Pipes as to whether or not the pipe hobby is in fact a hobby or a craft. We're gonna delve into that a little bit. And then we have lots of good questions from you in hashtag askstuffandthings. So let's get going. All right, as I mentioned, many things to tell you about in the upcoming videos section. You may have noticed, maybe you were following along, but the very last Valheim episode posted last Friday. Kevin Kevinson's adventures in Valheim have come to a close for now. We may delve into there. There are going to be some more updates. They'll have the full release of the game eventually. But for now, Kevin Kevinson's adventures are done. It was a really fun series to do. A lot of you really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you watching it. But that being said, and check it out if you haven't yet, there will be a new game. And we're going to be doing a special announcement for the new game that we'll be playing on Stuff and Things Plays this Monday, October 11th. And then the new game will premiere on October 13th. That will be Wednesday, October 13th. So I'm very excited. I'm excited to finally be able to reveal this to you. So check that out, Monday, October 11th, and then the first episode will be October 13th on Wednesday. We also just posted the Mississippi River Special Reserve Flake video last Wednesday. I would have talked about that in the last Sunday Stuff and Things, but that was sort of the lost episode. All the audio got scrubbed, so now I'm telling you about it now. If you haven't watched that review yet, definitely check it out. It was an interesting blend, and a lot of people had some interesting comments about the review and about the blend itself. And then I think they are sitting now in my post office box, but I am getting these special cool pens from a company called Modern Fuel. I had never heard of Modern Fuel, but one of their marketing people contacted me, said, hey, would you like to look at these pens? I looked them up, and I think they did a Kickstarter for at least one of the models of pens that they have. And I've talked about fountain pens and things like that on this channel before. These are not fountain pens, but they are interesting enough and cool enough that I think you guys are gonna like to see them and like to check them out. They're basically, imagine like a solid bar of copper or bronze, and then you just carve a pen out of that. That's kind of what's going on with these pens. They're really interesting, and there's some interesting opening and closing mechanisms happening as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on those. Hopefully I can get to the P.O. box tomorrow and pick those up. And then in the next Sunday Stuff and Things, I'll give you my preliminary thoughts, and then eventually we'll do a full review. So Modern Fuel pens, look forward to that. Hello? There's food in that bowl. I just put food in there. Look, there's a sprig of millet. You guys like millet? Anyway, the Seahawks. The less said, the better. They didn't look good even when Russell Wilson was in the game. He is now injured, might be missing several weeks. He has a severely sprained finger. It looked horrible when it happened. And I think that's pretty much it. I probably won't be mentioning the Seahawks again on the channel this season unless some miracle happens and they're somehow in the playoffs race. I will continue watching them, I will continue rooting for them, but it just seems like there's no chance in hell that they'll make it into the playoffs now. All right, so I talked about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, that I've been wanting to try to get some sort of pet. I can't have a cat, I can't have a dog, I can't have any larger, more interactive pet in the apartment. And so Diamond and I were thinking about, what kind of thing could we get? She had a fish for a while, but the fish died. She was maybe gonna get another fish. And then I thought, hey, I've had gerbils before. Why not get some gerbils? They're great. You can get a pair together. They're really fun. They interact with each other. They can interact with you. You can watch them go about their weird little, they're very industrious little creatures, and it's really fun to watch them. And so I got a tank, I got the bedding, I got everything set up, and for several weeks I was looking for gerbils and discovered that they're way harder to find around here than I thought they would be, or than they had been in years past. And I finally had a conversation with someone at a Petco, because I was trying to find anywhere that actually bred them or, rescued them, because I didn't really want to get them from a big pet store. And all we have in Bellingham is a Petco and a PetSmart. Those are the only two stores we have that actually carry live animals. It's really weird. We used to have a lot more. It's all gone now. And if you just go, 20 minutes to the south, to much smaller cities, they have far more options than we do in a city of 100,000 people. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, I was looking everywhere, couldn't find any gerbils. I finally called one of the Petcos and was like, what's going on? Why are there no gerbils? And she just said they're not popular. Kids don't like them. Kids like hamsters. They don't like gerbils, so they never sell them, and so they never get them in. Anyway, I finally discovered some in the Petco in Mount Vernon, Washington, a much, much smaller city. And here they are. They have done some extensive redecoration in their cage. This whole area up here was kind of all just flat. I had put a bunch of bedding in there for them to dig in. They have thrown a lot of it in here. They have dug this extensive tunnel system through there. And ever since they did that, I have not seen them. They immediately run and hide in their tunnels as soon as I enter the room or as soon as they hear my voice. And so, it's fun. I've got some creatures. They're in there somewhere. You can hear me now, can't you? Come out. Come out of there. They're not going to come out. Hopefully they will eventually. In the meantime, you can't see this now, but I have our television over there, and I have been playing non-stop videos from Stuff and Things. Basically just did the Sunday Stuff and Things playlist and just have it on repeat. And so they are either going to get tortured by the sound of my voice, or they will eventually get used to the sound of my voice and then realize that I'm not going to try to kill them. Not yet, anyway. Hopefully they'll start venturing out. I've got treats for them. I've got all sorts of things I'd like to do. I'd like to get them, more hand tame and everything and be able to hold them and do stuff. But as of now, this is the joy of pet ownership. All right, now, I guess we could call this the topic of the show. We have a question or more comment from our good friend Bishop's Pipes. Now they say this: question, or more like a comment as I just said, for you, Bradley, for Sunday Stuff and Things. In your September 19th video, and multiple times in the past, you refer to pipe-essing as a hobby, and I'd like to point out that it's far greater than a hobby, dare I say craft, which is easily more fitting and applicable to call this great community and lifestyle of ours. Good day, sir. Well, Bishop, I'm going to call you Bishop. Thank you for writing in. I've seen your name somewhere, I think on Instagram, but sorry, I'm going to call you Bishop's Pipes for now. Thanks for writing in. I think you should call it whatever you like, whatever you feel. If that's how you feel about it, then that's how you should regard it. I disagree. And it's more a semantic thing. Well, it's partially a semantic thing and partially just, there's kind of an aggrandizement that goes on sometimes in hobbies, and I've especially noticed it in pipes. A craft to me, and I think this is the dictionary definition, is something that you are producing. Like the craft of, you could make beer, that's a craft, crafting beer, crafting furniture, crafting clay pots, crafting whatever. You're creating something, you're making something. Just enjoying a pipe, you're not really making anything. You're enjoying something, you're pursuing something. Maybe if you're making pipes, if you're making blends, that's one thing. But as far as just having it as a pastime, as a hobby, that's what it is to me. It's a hobby, a pastime. To some people, it's a habit. To some people, it is something that they need to do every day because they want it. a lot of other people, and I think the majority of the people in this hobby do view it as a hobby. It's something they do to relax, to unwind, and it might be something that they're very, very invested in as far as researching different blends, different pipe makers, all sorts of history and kind of lore. And I guess there are, I don't even want to call them skills involved in the whole pipe thing, but there are ways of doing it that might make your enjoyment greater than it could be if you do it in a different way. And there's lots of debate about that. A lot of people get really pedantic about it. That's all fine. That's all fine. But to me, it's a hobby, and it's a hobby I enjoy. It's a hobby to me that's just like, you know, if you enjoy reading, if you enjoy film, if you enjoy going on walks on the beach, those are hobbies. The pipe thing is a hobby, in my opinion. But like I said, Bishop's Pipes, if you want to consider it a craft, that's fine. I'm not going to accuse you of this, but there does seem to be a large contingent within the community of people who try to make it into something maybe even more important than it actually is. And I think if someone was really adamant about calling it a craft, because that somehow means that it's a slightly more prestigious than calling it a hobby, I don't really get that. It's a nice, fun, relaxing, you know, meditative thing to do. It's not a craft. But I'd be curious to hear everyone else's opinion in the comments below. Have a nice, friendly, polite debate in the comments. I'd be interested in reading those out. Maybe I'll take some of the best ones and read them on next week's Sunday Stuff and Things. But thank you for writing in with that, Bishop's Pipes. It's a good topic of discussion and something cool to sort of consider. You know, sometimes you just do things, you do something you enjoy, but you don't think too much about it, and it's always nice to kind of ponder those questions. But now, gang, it is time to answer a few more questions from you in hashtag #AskStuffandThings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, you can tweet at SATBradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings. You can also leave me questions in YouTube comments or via Patreon if you are a Patreon supporter. But this week, from Twitter, from Mozzarella Man 420 at JE742746665, they say, "Hey Bradley, I was just thinking, with Thanksgiving coming next month, what about an episode of Stuff and Things called Stuffing and Things? Maybe review the best of Thanksgiving foods, or something. I don't know, just a thought. Keep making life more fun. Thanks." Thank you for writing in with that suggestion. I don't know if I've ever really done anything specifically about Thanksgiving, an American holiday for those of you out there who don't celebrate Thanksgiving, which is probably most of you if you're not in the US. Yeah, that's something I might consider. I mean, we would go to a family's house to have Thanksgiving dinner, so I'm probably not gonna take a camera and like put it in people's faces or people's plates full of food, but I'll consider that. Something to think about. Next from Jess Steer, at Jess Steer. "Love the content. I remember on some videos you remarked that you didn't believe that either of barrel-aged Seattle Pipe Club blends were really aged in barrels. Did I say for sure I didn't believe, or I thought it unlikely? I can't remember. I'll trust you. Perhaps you have repented already, but if you are still living in your unbelief, here are pictures I took." And then he showed me pictures of barrels in which those blends were aged. So if I did say that, I definitely stand corrected. I assume that maybe they were just cutting up staves and sort of, or infusing the blend. I didn't know for sure if they were keeping them in barrels, but that's cool to know. Thank you, Jess. Now, from Ryan McFadin, at Ryan McFadin. "Hi, Bradley. I've been thinking of picking up a Midori Traveler's Notebook. I know you did a review on it a few years back, more like 6 years back, I think now. Just curious how it's holding up after all this time. I would imagine the leather has developed a nice patina." Well, I have mine right here. And yeah, that's what the leather looks like now. Pretty cool, little scarred, nice and shiny from use, but it holds up really well. I have nothing to complain about the Midori's Traveler's Notebook whatsoever. I've seen, I've gotten sent a lot of other notebook covers, leather notebook covers, things that I've reviewed on the channel. There was a period after this video that I did on this, has like, I don't know, over 200,000 views, I think. So other companies were like, oh, let's send this guy a notebook cover. None of them quite match this. I don't know why it's so hard just to get a nice piece of leather, but none of the other leather on any of those other notebook covers was as nice to feel, to touch, to hold as this leather. I don't know. I mean, those notebooks worked just as well. Some of them worked even better. But as far as the tactile enjoyment, none of them quite matched up to the original Midori. Next, from Dapper Dan at Iron Cloned, Dapper Dan says, are you subscribed to any magazines? If so, which? It's an interesting question because I think maybe if somebody had asked this question 10, 15 years ago, a lot of people would probably have been subscribed to magazines. I am not subscribed to any. I think the only one I've ever been subscribed to was Nintendo Power when I was a little kid. I think that's it. And I think maybe, you know, we used to have a really cool store here in Bellingham called The Newsstand where you could get all sorts of really cool magazines from all over the world. And I used to get, you know, art or photography or film magazines there or music magazines a lot of the time, but never subscribed to any of them. Interesting. I still like the idea of a physical magazine, and actually I got what was that called? I got a trial subscription to Black and White magazine. It's a black and white fine art photography magazine, and it's really cool because if you're looking at an art magazine, it's so much nicer to have, you know, a physical copy where you can turn the pages and see the pieces that they're showing you. It's just better than digital. Next, from Corbin Bourbon. It looks like your beard is going gray. I'm also turning silver myself and loving it. I'm digging the longer stash look. May have to try it myself. I don't really see the question. I guess the question is my beard going gray? And Corbin Bourbon is a Patreon supporter as well. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I've got some gray in there. It's mostly in the sideburns, because even like here on my hair, it's kind of getting a little gray. I don't really have any gray up top there. But yeah, I've got a little bit of the sideburns. A lot of people think that my mustache and chin is gray, but it's just blonde. Like my beard is 50% very, very blonde and 50% almost black. And then those two colors merge together, make it look kind of brown. My mustache is a little more blonde than the rest of my beard. And it's sort of the same way in the top of my head too. It looks like my hair is just brown or dark brown. But if you look closely, then you will see that there are black hairs or like super dark brown hairs and then really light brown hairs or almost blonde hairs. And then it's kind of like pixels. When you put it together, it turns into brown. It's really weird, but that's what my beard's doing. I'm sure it will go completely gray at some point, but hasn't yet. Next, from Peter M. I'm looking into buying a Pilot Custom 823, a pen I reviewed on the channel some years back, but I'm on the fence between a fine and medium nib. I write very small. I use a Leuchtturm 1917 dotted and use the 5mm spacing as a loan I write to. I'm not sure what that means there. On Kaweco, I use extra fine nibs. That makes me think I should get an F on an 823, but I'm afraid I still don't. I'm afraid I'll don't get that. Okay. I'm afraid I won't get that celebrated smoothness. There are a few little typos, but that's fine. As with the medium nib. What do you think? Well, Peter, I think I answered you on YouTube already, but for other people who may be out there wondering the same thing, Pilot nibs are typically smaller than your standard European nibs, so I got a medium in the 823, even though I typically prefer a fine or an extra fine because I write very small as well. But the medium was perfect for me because you still got some nice ink flow, and it's a 18 karat gold nib, so it's a really nice smooth nib regardless. But you get good ink flow, but you can still write small, and it's just, I think, the best of both worlds. So if I were you, based on what you've told me, I would get the medium in the Pilot Custom 823. Hello? Hello? Hello. I just saw the tail of one of them. They have a tunnel system that goes like in there, around here, goes around the back. They have a couple entrances, couple exits. You know, I sort of saw the glimpse. I caught a glimpse of one. Gang, I guess that's it for this Sunday Stuff and Things, except for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank you, our Patreon supporters. People who support this channel on Patreon are what make this show go. The fancy camera that is recording this video right now, the lights that are shining upon me, the products that I get for review, you guys make that possible, and I cannot thank you enough. But every week we like to thank our supporters who support the channel at $25 or more a month. People like Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Glenn, Jason Buckner, Jen O'Side, Gloria Phillips, Ryan McFadin, Matt Marino, Joe Heaphy, and MDoftheNorth. And of course, let's not forget the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month. People like Peter Straub, Bob Magee, David Gaudreau, and Ashes of the Phoenix. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, liking, sharing, all that good stuff. If you haven't already, check out the review of Mississippi River Special Reserve Flake that posted last Wednesday. This Wednesday, we'll be talking about these guys a little bit. The Maniacs, look at them, they're crazy. But also stay tuned for the Modern Fuel pens. Check out Stuff and Things Plays for the brand new series that will be starting next week. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been a good friend, Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a very pleasant Sunday, Stuff and Things. I'll see you later. I have treats for you. Look, there's a wheel out here.